Hey, BCs here, and welcome to week 4 of the VDL. This week we're playing against OC Frey and the Pogging Porygons, who's a replacement coach. And here is the team matchup. Their team on the right, their team is very powerful. They have a very strong expanding force psychic terrain mode with the NDD. They have a really bulky Pokemon in Goldango that's really hard to deal with if you can't deal with it early. And in addition to that, they do have some, pretty powerful like priority Pokemon moves like Lucario, and Prankster Tailwind or Gelwing's Tailwind with Fletchender. So definitely a little tricky to both deal with them being in and outside of Trick Room, but they definitely think that there's a good chance that they're going to try to lean somewhat into the expanding force mode or something to that extent. So with this, here's the team I ended up bringing. So we bring the Houndoom specifically kind of as our answer to the expanding force mode as Flashfire and an Assault Vest and Snarl. So basically, it can deal with both of them very comfortably. Should take moves from them and then slowly lower their damage output with Snarls. We have Thick Fat Hariyama, similar idea, takes the both those very well, and if they're in Trick Room, it is very good in Trick Room. If it's a Terror Psychic and with Thick Fat, can basically deal with most things. And just slowly gain up HP with Drain Punch, knock off for good damage, and then Headlong Rush for the rest. Next up, we have the Iron Treads with Akaberry. Akaberry, so I can take any attack from the Armarouge. We got Ice Spinner to hit some of their flying Pokemon or Terra Flying. We have ground coverage, which hits a lot of their team, and then just pretty standard coverage from there. Next up, we have Flutter Mane with the Booster Energy. This time, the Booster Energy is going to give me a special attack boost. So basically, I have a big damage output on this with just fairly standard coverage. Nothing too fancy with that. Bruxish is one of our big Pokemon this week. We gave it Mystic Waters for damage output, and then we gave it a Trick Room, Wave Crash, and Crunch. The idea behind this is to be able to reverse Trick Room. It should take moves pretty well from any of the Pokemon that would set up Trick Room, and any of their like slower Pokemon. It can take damage pretty well, and then just Crunch for hitting the rest of the Pokemon. And then finally, we have Staraptor with Choice Band Reckless. I don't expect too many Pokemon to come that can be intimidated because I'm expecting Lucario to be one of their big Pokemon to come as physical attacker, and it's going to likely be Inner Focus and so it can't be intimidated. And then, so pretty much the only Pokemon I'm really expecting to see that can be intimidated is Iron Thorns. And so with that, I decided to just go with Reckless with a Choice Band. Double Edge Brave Bird does massive damage, actually has a chance to one-shot most things on their team. And then we have Terrified Close Combat, which has a good chance to one-hit KO Garganackle if Garganackle doesn't Terra. And then U-Turn just is a pivoting ability. And so the big plan kind of in prep that I've done that's been pretty successful is the Houndoom Staraptor lead with Bruxish and Hariyama in the back. Just as a way to kind of deal with them being able to set up Trick Room very consistently and being able to annoy those Pokemon. And with this, let's get into the start of the match. So here's the team and their Terra types I was given before the start of the match. I actually didn't quite record until at the beginning of the match, so I'm going to discuss how I made my decisions of what to pick as well. And so these are all the Pokemon they ended up bringing. And so first thing that we notice is they have Toxicroak and Fletchender. A little bit surprised to see Toxicroak because I think Lucario was a better option. So definitely a little bit surprising there. And Fletchender is a Pokemon I wasn't quite expecting. I actually had some moves previously to counter the Fletchender setting up Tailwind, including Aqua Jet on my Bruxish. However, decided to change those for just more defensive options. So that's a little bit annoying. And so with this, I do see a lot of the, Pokemon I was expecting to see. And so I kind of expected them to go with their Psychic Terrain mode, setting up Trick Room, and then do that. However, I definitely think that maybe that was a little bit of a bad decision. I think I should have maybe a little bit adjusted for the Fletchender being on the team, the fact that the team might be a little bit faster, and maybe do a little bit different by like adding something like Flutter Mane onto the team. But with that, let's get into the game. So we were for game 1, and my opponent ends up leading Toxicroak Garganackle, and I end up leading the Houndoom Staraptor. This definitely isn't the best lead for me because Toxicroak definitely threatens the Houndoom, and I can't really super comfortably attack the Garganackle because they can just tear in front of me. And so I also am concerned about Toxicroak just going for a fake out. So I decided to just go for a Heat Wave, and I'm debating on maybe U-turning or just going for the kill on the Toxicroak. However, if they just fake out and Salt Cure my Staraptor, I'm in really bad shape. So I decided to switch out into the Hariyama in order to read a possible fake out, and then try to get a little bit of damage with the Heat Wave, especially if I can get a burn on Toxicroak would be great. And on top of that, Toxicroak is likely going to be Dry Skin, and Heat Wave is going to do pretty good damage. However, they reveal to be Choice Scarf, which is really bad for me because I end up losing the Pokemon, and me switching out the Staraptor ends up completely punishing me. Definitely think that if I would have just gone for any attacking move, I'd be in a lot better shape, even with the loss of my Houndoom on turn 1. And in addition to that, Garganackle just gets an Iron Defense up, and I have lost my only special attacker that I brought this game. So definitely not looking great for me. I definitely feel like we're already in the back foot immediately. So here I decide to just I'm kind of just debating on whether or not I just want to go for the kill on the Toxicroak or not. But I definitely think I should try to kill it, and I decided to just go for the attack there, and I decided to go for a Terra Psychic here in order to take a close combat very comfortably, and also it's like a very good defensive typing for the rest of the game, and just go for a Drain Punch to hopefully do some good damage. So they end up tearing into the Garganackle, getting it to a poison type, which definitely a very bad start for me because the only thing I did into that Pokemon there is a Drain Punch. And despite being Terra Psychic here, I actually do not have a Psychic move to hit this Garganackle with, stab Psychic coverage. And as we see here, this close combat does massive damage, and on top of that, it is going to get the poison here, which makes it even more annoying for me. um, However, luckily for me, I am able to kill this Scarf Toxicroak, which was definitely a big annoyance. However, this Garganackle is going to be a really big issue because it is at +2. I'm down to 2 Pokemon, and both my Pokemon are physical. And in addition to that, we actually see that it is faster than me and gets up to +4 defense. And so now this game is 100% going to come down to whether or not I can get a crit on this Garganackle. Without a crit, I do not think there's any way I'm going to break through this in time. And so definitely a little bit awkward. And so now we just bring out the Bruxish. And we are definitely, not in the best shape, but definitely there's an out as long as we can get a crit here. So they bring out NDD, which honestly I don't really care too much about. It's not that big of a deal. However, I definitely am going with the game plan of just going for a kill, everything except Garganackle, and then hope I can finish Garganackle with a crit at the end game. So I just go for a knockout and a wave crash. I should target the Garganackle to prevent leftover stuff. I probably should have doubled up into the NDD. We get a crit, which does massive damage, which honestly might have even been a little bit of a downside because I took more damage on my own Pokemon, so now I'm more likely to die with the Bruxish. However, they set up Trick Room, which is not bad for me in the slightest because Hariyama is actually the slowest thing on the field. And so here I decided to just go for a Protect and go for the kill onto the NDD spot. And they go for a Follow Me, which means nothing. None of my targets really matter too much, but I'm able to just kill the NDD. But as we see, like I said, I am slower than the Garganackle because they decided not to go slow Garganackle for some reason. And the Trick Room is not a big deal at all, as the Salt Cure just goes into my Bruxish spot. So definitely not a bad turn, but like I said, we're definitely not in good shape with the +4 defense Garganackle in front of my 2 physical attackers. And their last Pokemon is Armarouge, and they have Air Balloon, so definitely good information. And so here I decided to just go for a Wave Crash and then a knockoff into the Armarouge, try to get some good damage to the Armarouge. I don't expect Bruxish to really live this turn, but hopefully I'm going to die from Salt Cure rather than something else. And I can get an attack off. And so they go for the Salt Cure and does, okay damage. And then after that, the Armarouge goes for a normal Terra Blast, and it ends up killing I was definitely not sure if it was going to kill or not because it is, just normal, not a stab move, but gets the kill. And so definitely not great shot with the 2v1 here. I am the fastest thing on the field, so there's not much, there's good in that aspect, but +4 Garganackle is very bad for me right here. So I decided to just go for the Armarouge. Mainly, like I said, I want to just kill the Armarouge and then hope to get a hit crit with Headlong Rush. They go for the Protect on the Armarouge, which we're getting some good information on the Armarouge. They have Expanding Force, Terra Blast, Protect. The Garganackle has Salt Cure, Iron Defense, Protect. So definitely some good information on these. And we are slowly, um, you know, slowly going to die to the Salt Cure. So here I decided to just kill the Armarouge, and we are pretty much down to the 1v1, but they are at +4. Um, like I said, this is going to come down to a crit on the Headlong Rush. I'm not even positive a crit Headlong Rush kills, but as they get up to +6, +6 on their defenses, which is definitely not great for me. And then now Trick Room is over as well. So now I can't even, now I don't even outspeed. And so here I just go for a knockoff, try to get rid of their leftovers, and they go for a Protect. And I'm just slowly dying from Salt Cure Chip. So definitely looking bad, and I think I pretty much say that this game is over at this point. And so now the idea is just thinking about what I need to do for game 2. And the big thing is I definitely want a special attacker. Specifically, I probably want Fluttermane for game 2 in order to deal with this Hariyama, or this Garganackle a little bit better. We're able to get off a knockoff to get rid of the leftovers of the Garganackle. Honestly, not much relevance to it. Um, However, here they just go for a Soul Cure, not quite killing me. I'm able to get a Headlong Rush to see if I get the crit. Don't get the crit. Um, don't know if the crit would have even mattered. Might have. I It depends on their specific bulk, but with this, we end up losing game 1. And what is close in Pokemon, but wasn't really close because kind of once they got that Iron Defense off on turn 1, I definitely think I was very much on the back foot after having lost my Houndoom on turn 1 and not having Broad Fluttermane at all. So with that, let's get into game 2. So you're for game 2. So like I said, the big adjustment I need to make into this game is to bring Fluttermane. And I decided I want to bring Fluttermane in the front with Staraptor. This is a very good offensive pressure on my opponent's team, and also isn't the worst at dealing with them trying to set up Trick Room in addition to that. I decided to bring Bruxus in the back as a switch in if they do go hard Trick Room and I can't prevent it. And then the big question is, do I want Hariyama in the back or not? I decide Hariyama probably seems reasonable since it is one of the better defensive options, especially if I Terra Psychic. And so with that, let's get into the game. My opponent leads Fletchinder Toxicroak, and I lead the Fluttermane and Staraptor. And so I definitely feel pretty good about this position. If they don't double up into both of my or one of my Pokemon, and so I can definitely just kill the Toxicroak or the Fletchinder with Brave Bird. I decided to go with the Toxicroak since we know it's not sashed, and go for a Protect on the Fluttermane, expecting them to go for a Brave Bird into the Fluttermane and then an attack into the Fluttermane, or something like that with like maybe a Sucker Punch and a Brave Bird into that spot. And if we read this turn properly, I feel like we're in amazing shape going into as a start of the game. And they end up going for a Sucker Punch into the Fluttermane, which is great. And then they also go for a Brave Bird into the Fluttermane, which is also great. So we are in amazing shape after that turn 1 because my Fluttermane takes no damage and I get a 1-hit KO onto their Scarfmon, which is very good for me. So next up, they have Garganackle, and I'm definitely feeling okay about this Garganackle's position. I'm stuck into Brave Bird, so I can't do anything except just attack the Fletchinder spot. And I decide in between going for a Terra Dark Blast, or going for a Moonblast. The downside of a Moonblast is if they Terra Poison here, it definitely puts me in an awkward position. In addition, Dark Pulse has a chance of flinching. And so I decide that I think it's optimal to just Terra Dark Blast. This is Dark Pulse. This is a way to play around the Terralized Garganackle and should 2-hit KO it, and also gives me a chance to flinch. So now we're Terra Dark. I feel pretty good, and they go for a Brave Bird into my Fluttermane, and it doesn't kill, which is basically what I expected. However, sadly, one thing I realize is that I should die from a Terra Flying Fletchinder attack, which is very bad for me. And definitely something worth noting for game 3. Um, so here we just go for a dark Pulse, hoping for a flinch if we can get it. As we see, the Dark Pulse does over 50%, so it's definitely nice there. And they just go for an Iron Defense, which means we're in great shape, no matter what they hit in the back, because nothing in the back should be able to take a Brave Bird, really, other than Iron Treads, or Iron Thorns, and we should be able to kill either of these Pokemon pretty cleanly with the Fluttermane. And they just bring out Armarouge, which puts me in a very good position. And so the big question is, do I expect one of these to protect and the other one not to? And I decide to just go for the Brave Bird into the Armarouge, and I considered doing like a protect to read around it, but obviously I don't want to give them a free like recover from the Gargnackle, so I just go for the attack into Gargnack with the Dark Pulse and the Brave Bird into Armarouge. I believe both of these should kill their respective targets. So they go for the Protect and Armarouge. I'm expecting them to maybe go for a Recover or like Assault Cure and try to get something there. They block my Brave Bird, but this Dark Pulse, as we saw in the previous turn, should do enough to kill, and pretty much should, and is completely avoids their going for a Poison Terra. And we're able to kill the Gargnackle. Now we're up 4-1 with both my Pokemon in front of them outspeeding. And so this game completely changed from the previous one, and we can just go for the double up to get the kill. So definitely a huge turnaround after game 1. The big difference was obviously just bringing Fluttermane. The special attacker did a lot of work, and like I said, the last game, the only thing that really was annoying was the Gargnackle. Once I dealt with the Gargnackle, I was actually in very good shape. And so with this, we end up winning 4-0. And with that, let's get to game 3. Here for game 3. So I really would like to do the same lead as last game, but it is highly risky because if I do the same thing, they can either double up into Staraptor if I protect again, or if they Terra Flying, Brave Bird into Fluttermane, it gets a one-hit KO. And Staraptor took a close combat previously, but I don't know if it's a roll. And so definitely a highly risky. So I'm just trying to come up with a way to slightly adjust the lead while still having Fluttermane to deal with a Garganackle in the early game. And I decided to go with Bruxish because I think it should take an attack reasonably well um, from the Toxicroak. And then I decided to go with, Staraptor in the back is good damage, and then Iron Treads. The plus side of Iron Treads is that it does bed well into the Iron Thorns. And so with that, let's get into game 3. So my opponent leads NDD Iron Thorns, which immediately regrets my decision to lead Fluttermane Bruxish, because here I actually feel very good about my ability if I just led the exact same lead as last time, because my Staraptor actually one-hit KOs NDD, so I can actually kill NDD and then get an attack onto Iron Thorns, which doesn't really take these attacks as well. We see that Iron Thorns is able to get a boost energy boost, which gives it an attack boost. So it is a +1 attack immediately, and then I get my special attack boost. And so here, there's not much I can do. I can, other than just go for 2 attacks and try to get some damage. So yeah, I don't like my position too much, and the idea here is just to try to kill the NDD, prevent them from stand up Trick Room. Um, and the best way is kind of just go to the double up. They went for follow me, so my targeting didn't really matter, but my moves did. I went for Wave Crash over Crunch specifically to play around a Terra Fairy. However, this one thing that is a little bit awkward here is because they didn't Terra, I do take a little chip damage with the Wave Crash. Which if I just went for Crunch, I would have been fine with. And they get a Dragon Dance off, which is huge. Now they're at +1 speed and at +1 attack plus the boost energy boost. And my both my Pokemon are not super fast, specifically the Fluttermane, so there's a chance that at +1 they just outspeed me. And they just go for the Fletchinder here. And I definitely, I'm like, okay, how do I do this? I can double up and try to kill this Iron Treads because a double up should definitely kill. However, both my Pokemon threaten getting killed by Iron Thorns, and I decided to go for the Trick Room because they're likely going to go for a Tailwind, and if I can get Trick Room up, I'm in great shape. And I think that they're likely to target Fluttermane over Bruxish specifically, and I should be able to take a Rock Slide here because they're only at +1 attack. So they go for the Tailwind as expected, and if I can get a Trick Room up, I'm in amazing shape. And they go for a Rock Slide, and it kills Bruxish, which is devastating. Um, I thought I was gonna live there. I forgot about the boost energy boost, and so it's not too surprising I didn't live there. However, at this point now, I have my out, which is Iron Treads. Iron Treads, if they do not have a ground move, is in very good shape, and so I just decided to go for a protect and go for, considering Terra Psychic things like that, obviously to play around a ground move, but I decide that I just need to hope they don't have Earthquake or something like that, and go for the kill on Iron Thorns, because if Iron Thorns goes down, I am actually in pretty good shape. I just go for an Iron Head because I think it's reasonable damage, and they go for a Protect and Iron Thorns, which is definitely a little sad. If I would have been able to attack that the Fletchender, I think I would have been in really good shape, especially um, you know with this. However, they just go for a Brave Bird with me being Psychic Terrain up, so it ends up not being that big of a deal. So I actually could have gotten a free attack and then been able to protect this turn. Obviously, hard to play around that aspect. But at this point now, I don't really want to go for the double protect, so I'm just going to go for a miss on the Rock Slide, because if they miss Rock Slide and Fluttermane, I'm in great shape. Or even if they do kill Fluttermane, I think I'm in pretty good shape, because I should be able to take a attack from pretty well with the Iron Treads, and then have Staraptor in the back to kind of finish up. So I end up going for a Rock Slide, double connect, which is not bad as long as I do not flinch here. Because if I can flinch, if I don't flinch, I kill Iron Treads. It's a 2v2, and I have Staraptor in the back, which basically one-shots anything on their team. They go for the Will-O-Wisp. I still think Iron Head should kill, um, but I flinch, and this is devastating. Very sad. I do not like my position too much at this point now, but I definitely have some outs. Um, and as Staraptor, definitely I feel a little better if the Staraptor was like Hariyama. But at this point, the only real play I can do is Terra fighting in order to not be able to get hit by a priority move from the Fletchender, and so that I can actually take a um, and then so I can take a Rock Slide, and then I just go for the Ice Spinner. So we're in okay shape. Like I said, the Staraptor probably cannot be touched by the Fletchender, because other than with a Will-O-Wisp. And in addition to that, neither of my Pokemon should die from a Rock Slide, and I should kill the thing. They just go for a Protect, which honestly is not bad shape. And they go for the Rock Slide, double connect again. As we see, I'm an okay damage wise. Um, and they flinch the Staraptor, but I'm able to kill it with the Ice Spinner. And I immediately realized my mistake when I clicked Ice Spinner, because with Ice Spinner, I lose the Psychic terrain, and now they can actually Brave Bird my Pokemon, which definitely means I'm not in great shape. If I didn't Ice Spinner, I don't know the damage calc, but I think the Iron Head kills, and if it did kill, I think I would have been in pretty good shape, with the Psychic terrain, because they couldn't hit my Pokemon. But now they have a Scarf Pokemon in front of with my Toxicroak, and um, now all I can really do is just go for damage on these. However, as we see, they still have their Brave Bird activate, their Gelwin's activated. They get the Brave Bird off, killing my Staraptor, and they are able to go for the close combat and kill my Iron Treads, getting a loss. So sadly, this is my first loss this season. Go down to 3-1. Um, Definitely, I think if I didn't get flinched that turn, I wouldn't have needed to Terra the previous turn. And my Staraptor would be at max HP. So I definitely think I probably easily win the game if I killed with the Iron Head, and I didn't get flinched that turn. Because I can easily kill the easily kill the Toxicroak with a Brave Bird. So definitely a little bit sad, and I would have been able to Terra a Psychic instead, for example. So definitely a little sad there. In addition to that, I definitely think that I got punished for not just leading the exact same lead I had in previously in game 3. So definitely a little sad. I definitely think I did not adjust game 1 to the team they brought, and kind of just went with my game plan instead of actually thinking of what I should have led, because it was very obvious that Houndoom wasn't going to be particularly good because they brought um, more physical attackers than I was expecting, and in addition to that, they brought a fast mode instead of just the slow mode. And so definitely think I could have played better in that aspect. I could have played better in game 3 as well. And definitely, if at any point I would have hit that Star Raptor, not Star, if I would have hit the Fletchender, I would have been good. And in addition to that, I think also would have been okay if I had Rock Slide on my Iron Treads over any of the other moves I brought. So definitely a little bit sad because I think that the adjustment to bring Iron Treads game 3 was right. The 4 Pokemon I brought was right. I think it just needed to bring them in a slightly different order, and that was the big issue that ended up punishing me quite a bit. On top of that flinch on game 3, and then but overall, it was definitely a close, tight back and forth. And with that, I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.